Hey everyone, it's TV dinner time. Kick your shoes off, get comfy. Today we're talking about the show everybody's talking about, Quiet on the Set, Season 1. This is for the first 4 episodes. We're recording this on April 3rd. Supposedly there's going to be a fifth episode coming out on the 7th, so we may have an additional episode for this show at a later date. Right now we're just talking about the first 4. Jason and I kind of talked about how we're gonna get into this show and discuss it. We didn't want to kind of dive into the hot topics that feels like everyone else has been discussing. We wanted to more so take this from a place of we both grew up in the 90s watching these shows and we're enamored by them, and wanted to talk about that first and then maybe dive into like the shock that we had after watching this and finding out what was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, because it's like I think the whole time I'm watching this, like I see the initial cast of all of that, and then how they like changed to a newer cast. And I remember I was a little older when they changed to that newer cast, so it's like, all right, I wasn't watching all that all the time.
I was
and everything.
over it at that point.
Like unless I was at my like family's house and like the kids wanted to put it on. But the first cast I remember, and then like I remember some of my younger cousins and stuff watching iCarly or Drake and Josh and stuff. So it's like
Amanda Show.
The Amanda Show, yeah. So it's like we grew up with like Amanda Bynes in the household.
Do you remember? So I still feel like a kid at heart. I'm far from being a kid at this point, but I remember as a kid like being extremely excited for Saturday nights. Like that Nickelodeon block of Snick. They had the whole intro, like Snick is happening, it was all the colors, and they would change it every so often. And it was just a lineup of shows. And I just remember being like glued to the TV, watching all of that. Keenan and Kel. Nick Cannon had a TV show for a little bit. And I don't know if they still have Snick or even blocks of shows like that on like Disney or Nick, but I remember in the 90s, even early 2000s, like that was where I needed to be, like on the couch or in my room with the TV on, zoned in.
I remember all that where it's like it's like it wasn't specifically Saturday. I don't know if Saturday for my family was always pizza night and everything. It was like, all right, we're gonna just order some pizza and stuff and sit around the TV. But I remember like throughout the week, like we would like me and my brothers would watch The Simpsons or during the time, like during the day, if we're home or watching Ren and Stimpy and stuff. And so yeah, I remember kind of being ready to watch things. I don't know what Nickelodeon does. I don't know if they're like MTV, but like they show like reruns all the time. Because MTV, SpongeBob. You just like look on it, it's just reruns.
Yo, it's all. I saw something on social media. Somebody was like, "Hey, let's look at the Nickelodeon block," and it was just SpongeBob all day with like a block of like something else for like maybe 2 hours.
Yeah, it's like they know, okay, this thing works. And probably because they're like, all right, what the issues kind of like come about with this stuff where it's like it's not using actual live performances of children. Mm-hmm. This is an animated show, which still has some sketchy jokes and stuff, which I'm like, sometimes like there's still a lot of like animated shows out there that have some sketchy jokes.
Ren and Stimpy was one
of those. That was Ren and Stimpy. Ren and Stimpy was
that was not a kid's show, but that was on a kid's network.
But like you think about like Nickelodeon nowadays, it's like Nickelodeon's not really doing anything like extravagant, but I think the only thing that they like have done something different is doing their like own recording or broadcast of the Super Bowl. And so
that was
you kind
cool,
of like
though.
Yeah, and I think that's like
that
has come off as like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. And again, yeah, like it's the animated characters that they have on Nickelodeon where it makes it easier to kind of like, all right, this is not a real live person. And I think also the legality, like you saw it in like the
child labor laws.
Yeah, like where it's like, all right, like they have to be in school, they have to have a certain time on set and have a certain time off set and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think yeah, you're like, man, I would never want to do this.
Yeah. Like as a kid though, like as a kid watching it on television, it looked like, man, these actors and actresses are having the time of their lives. Like
Hmm.
they get to be on television and go to these award shows and be in these movies and act in these skits. And you're like, oh, that's probably so fun. So to watch this show and to find out not even every single actor and actress from these shows was on it. It was only a small percentage. And just to hear their stories of like, oh yeah, no, it was hellish dealing with these people is like, oh, you guys played that off really well. When I was a kid, I thought you guys were having the time of your life.
Yeah, right. And like they're going to like these like shows or like these award shows or like they're like child celebrities and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And then but then you find out like the two black individuals are the token black people, but
Yeah,
then if they spoke too much, then it's like, all right, we're just
we're
gonna
out
have
of
you,
here.
we're gonna shoo you off and everything. Or having black jokes or like really weird
Oh, the
stereotypical jokes
rapper
for the black
stuff.
for like the
Yeah,
black people
little
and everything.
fetus. You're like, what?
Yeah. So yeah, so like stuff like that where it's like, man, like but then yeah, you saw it on your TV
Yeah.
and you're like, this is like magical. And I think as children, you're probably like, I would totally love to do that. Like having
I was
fun
like
on
that.
set and everything. Yeah. But now you're like, no
Thank goodness.
chance.
So the one thing that I'm still like scratching my head about is like, and I'm guessing something's probably going to come out, and something might have already come out. Uh, Keenan and Kel, they had their own show. They were like the prominent black actors on Nickelodeon. Nick Cannon came a little later, but it seemed like they were kind of away from what was going on. At least in my eyes, I may be wrong, but it seemed like they were kind of they didn't have to deal with all the craziness that was actually happening. Like, even though they were a part of that era and they kind of kicked it off because they were like the big names, it seemed like they dodged. And I, like I said, I could be completely wrong, but it feels like they dodged a lot of the chaos that was going on.
or they didn't, and it's just like people react to this stuff differently and stuff. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like there could be. I know Keenan Thompson. I believe I read something that like after he saw like this show, the
Yeah,
Quiet on Set,
he
he
came forward
asked
and
for
said
like
something.
investigations and stuff. He asked for
Yeah.
like people to look into this stuff, and so then that kind of makes you think like maybe he was not so aware of things,
Mm-hmm.
or also people, and that kind of goes to like the Peck guy and some of these like people that knew how to prey on the children. It's like choosing
Oh
the
yeah.
ones that are
The-
easier, and maybe
yeah.
Keenan and Kel and stuff. Or there's some individuals that are like, hey, let's just like kind of create like a normal environment for them. But then
Yeah.
it's like it's so
These other ones. Well, it's
yeah,
like what is it called? I watched some, not to bring in serial killer docs, but I watched like a Charles Manson one, and they were talking about how his mindset of finding people for his cult. He's like, yeah, I preyed on broken wings,
mm-hmm.
people that were damaged,
Yeah.
and you can kind of tell like with the people that did come forward. Sadly, you can see that some of them did have issues at home, so they might have been they were children, but they might have been easier to
Issues at home,
deal with.
or
Yeah,
like you saw with like the example of like the Peck guy trying to push the dad
yeah,
away, and just kind of like because it was probably assumed that the dad was kind of too on top of everything,
which he
so
was.
which he was,
Yeah.
and then it was like, yeah, it's like, so creating this scenario that like has like better outcomes in their heads and stuff, and so it's like you can kind of see that they they use the same mentality as like a
hmm
serial killer or a criminal and stuff, which they are and stuff. But
Yeah.
and so it was like interesting to watch because like, yeah, like in terms of like you said, the shock value, because like
hmm
we were watching this as kids and you're like, this is like the most magical thing in the world,
Yeah.
and then you're watching it now and
You're
you're
like,
like, and
oh,
you feel bad for these like
yeah.
the actors that are on, because they're like, I watched this now as an adult, I'm like, how the hell did anybody do this?
How did they get
And
away
then
with
you're like,
this?
yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, Holy crap.
Like even like the clips they showed of people that are prominent now, you're just like, how did anybody okay this? And how did you think this is okay for kids to watch? Like
Yeah,
as a kid, you're so numb to it. You're like, oh, it's just funny, haha. But as an
the
adult, you're like,
Ariana Grande one was
whoa,
like the worst. Yeah, like
crazy, crazy.
there was like who the hell was able to sit there
Yeah,
and watch this? Like, and granted too, that kind of goes like you're talking about the psychology of things. It's like you almost have like this group think where it's like you have the person that's like calling the shots
yeah,
and could be a very dominant kind of like personality and stuff, or using that dominant personality for their favor. And everyone is probably like, I know this is weird, but who's gonna say something first? And it's more of that stuff. Like, all right,
yeah,
like we all see this, so someone else has to be able to like bring up something. So
yeah. And they kind of touch on that, excuse me, in the doc of like, in the beginning, it was like, okay, hey, we're all buddy buddy. And then you slowly saw as the success came, a straight up tyrant. It's like, oh, I
mm-hmm.
can't say anything because I know if I say something, my career is ruined.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like stuff like that where it's like you're almost shocked by it, but
I just
I
have my
don't know.
fingers crossed that Disney doesn't have something like this. There's no Quiet on the Set too with Disney.
Mickey Mouse is probably
Mickey
like,
Mouse
all
comes
right,
forward like,
let's find all the skeletons and get rid of them now.
get them all out there.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, because like anything that like has any relation to like child actors, like no matter what, like they showed you that being a child actor is never a good
It's
idea
horrible.
typically. Yeah, and like you have like a 10% chance of having a normal life after being a child actor and stuff. So like even like fairly successful people like Drew Barrymore, they showed like
No, but
I think she
had
went
her
through
span of
a
time.
bunch of crap. Now
Emancipation.
yeah, there's some like normalcy. So it's like, and then you see the the sad ones of like Aaron Carter and stuff,
Yeah.
and what's
The
his
Corys.
name? Corey Feldman, right, or something, or
Well, Haim and Feldman.
yeah,
Both Corys, yeah.
So like you have stuff like that, and then you're kind of like seeing in your mind like, okay, well, yeah, like this is a normal person's reaction to stuff like this too. Like
that's the
even like
crazy.
Drake was like, I'm doing a bunch of drugs and drinking alcohol and stuff. Like that's a
Yeah.
normal person's
And going
reaction,
through
most
therapy.
likely.
Yeah. He's like, I have to go through therapy and I still don't understand how to, like, I still don't know how to express all this. But it's crazy to like, to think about being a kid and having that much burden on you. Because like a lot of these kids were the breadwinners, as they touched on. But you can think about celebrities of age, like adults, celebrities that went absolutely insane because no one prepares you for that much attention, fame, money. There's no handbook. There's no like, oh, I took a college course on how to be a celebrity. There's none of that. You just kind of get thrown into it and you're figuring it out. And adults go crazy with that. So for a kid to go from like, hey, I'm jumping on a playground on monkey bars to there's so many eyes on me. I'm trying to walk through Disneyland or walk through a grocery store and people are saying hi to me as if they've known me since I was born. Nothing can prepare you for that. Anybody would go crazy.
Yeah, and like weirdly enough, you can kind of like you can see where like possibly in Nickelodeon, I don't know if Nickelodeon did this, but like you can kind of see, like you said, finding easier ones to manipulate. And in this casting of children where it's like, yeah, you look for talent, but which is also a family that you can kind of like guide into like, oh, this is how it's normal inside of the show business, and they have no clue what the hell show business like is. And so like it's sadly you're like preying on the families that are like, I have no clue. Like you're telling my kid could be famous and stuff and like make all this money. You see it in sports a lot, where especially with black athletes, black and brown athletes, where it's like I can make money for playing a game that will bring my family and a lot of generations of my family out of poverty and stuff, and like then they're manipulated too. Like people steal from the contracts. There's people go crazy as to like, all right, I have all this fame, I have like like there's always those examples of like how they spend their first $1 million on like either it's stupid shit or it's like I bought a house or something or like a
Yeah,
nice place
it's
to play.
normally stupid shit. Like I always wanted this car, so I bought this car,
Yeah.
and then I don't know what happened to the rest of it.
But again, it's a normal reaction for basically children that are
Yeah,
going into the NFL and stuff and basketball and baseball and stuff.
yeah. To go from
So
like no money to all the money in the world, they need some sort of course, like some way to be like, hey, money management, dealing with people, because there's no way to really like prepare for that.
being able to speak your mind too. It's like like they said
but
it
they
a lot
can't.
with the children in this show where it's like if the adults weren't able to speak their mind, how would the children be able to speak their mind and stuff? So it's like even with the money management stuff you're talking about, it's like normal people. I think you, me, my girlfriend, a bunch of people that we know would have benefited a lot by having like a money management course in high school or something.
I'm surprised it's not required. Like they had me take music appreciation and shit like that. I'm like, yo, teach me how to balance it. Well, I had to take an elective for that. Matter of fact, it wasn't like a required course. It was an elective for money management.
But
on how to use a checkbook and all that good stuff.
See, this guy, but like you have to go out of your way to do that and stuff. And it's like it's not given to you to like live an adult life when you come out of like, and that's normal people. And these are people that are given like fame and money and star power and stuff. And so we can only assume what the hell we would go through if like we were given, even now, like if I was given fame and money and stuff, I would spend so much of it at first.
No, I would go into hiding. I would go into straight up hiding. Like, yo, I got all this money. Nobody's gonna know it. Yeah, you wouldn't see me.
No, I would believe I would. I would like to tell myself that I would be nice and like hide it and put it away and stuff, but like
now I would buy some stupid shit. Like, don't get me wrong, I would buy some stupid shit, but then the rest of it, I'd be like, I need to save this for a rainy day, just in case this all falls through.
I'm like a dumbass, like rich white person. It's like, I need to buy an island.
I need a helicopter.
But in terms of like watching this, it's like, do you watch? We don't watch children's stuff nowadays. Like it's funny because like what was difficult to watch, it's like Dan Schneider, the producer, the creator of things, was trying to emulate adult-based TV, like Fear Factor, like kind of like almost like a
even the sexual innuendos was like very adult for kids.
Yeah, so it's like it's kind of hard to like watch anything. You're like, because there was a comment where Dan Snyder says at the end, like there's like no like actual video of him like talking to, like they never approached him, like he just like made statements, and there was that one comment at the end of the 4th episode where it's like, I had dozens of people reading over everything.
Oh yeah,
but you're the one that says I approve this. And it's like, yeah, you had higher ups, but they're probably like, well, we don't need to look at it. Like, you're the guy that's running the show. Yeah.
Once you get to a certain level and like certain level twice. Wow. Once you get to a certain level and you've brought someone or something success, they're going to be like, oh, we trust you. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It happens in normal organizations.
Yeah.
In like small organizations. And that's the thing where it's like, I look at this where it's like even Nickelodeon's statement at the end, where at the end of each episode, Nickelodeon's probably like, you better put this at the end of each episode because it's like we have placed safeguards. It's like I made a comment before we started recording. It's like now you place safeguards because you found out, and I noticed a lot of like human resources departments in organizations are very reactionary. And it's more so, it's like you don't have like a group of people that are sadly that should be thinking about the possibilities of like bad actors inside of an organization, and how do we react to that? How do we mitigate that too. It's like not reacting to it. How do we not have that happen in the first place?
Yeah.
And so, because it's like you hear about it all the time, like organizations are like, oh, now we know that's a big problem. We know we're not supposed to be doing that. It's
Exactly.
like, you were supposed to know that before.
Exactly. You should have thought ahead and been like, that seems a little fishy. It's, yeah, like you said, it's always reactionary.
Yeah. So it's very difficult to see your childhood being blown up into pieces.
Oh, yeah. Like, when was I binging? I was binging Smart Guy the other day. I think it was like the week before I watched this, and I was like, I'm happy I watched it then. Like, I don't even know if I could watch Smart Guy now because I don't know what happened at Disney. I only know what happened at Nickelodeon.
I know, right? Like but I don't know. You see it all the time. It's like it's not even new to like. It sucks because it's like these are not like we say with black and brown stories that we have that we hear. Like these are all stories that are being told back then, still being told today, and will still probably be told in the future. And sadly, these are stories that are going to be told in the future with child actors for some reason that like there's people. Nickelodeon says I put safeguards, and it's like, oh, that is not enough safeguards, I think.
Yeah.
And so
there's never enough.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's going to find a way to get through whatever safeguards you have. And then we're going to see a season 6 down the line. It's like, oh, yeah, well, things were still happening, even though you saw what happened in season 1.
Yeah. People suck sometimes.
Yeah. There's no way around it.
Typically, I ask you this question. Who do you recommend this show to? Like 90s
I think at this
children?
point, everybody's seen it. Yeah, definitely 90s children, 90s, maybe even early 2000s children. They might have seen the tail end of it. More so the Disney show. Oh, no, they might have saw like iCarly and Victorious and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, everyone has probably seen this show. So it'd be difficult to find someone that hasn't seen it. But if you do find someone that hasn't seen it, just watch it.
But also state that it's very difficult to watch.
It's,
well,
like
you said at the beginning of this,
you into it.
Yeah, right.
Because like the first episode was like, oh, that's tough, but that's not the worst. He's just a crappy boss. And then like episode 2 and 3, and you're like, I gotta take a break. I need true. I need something happy.
The first episode, you're like, oh, we all had shitty bosses and everything.
Yeah, he was just a piece of shit. It's whatever. And then episode 2 is like, you thought he was just a shitty boss. There's more to it. Episode 3, you're like, okay, ease me into this.
Yeah, that's true. I think anybody, but also advising, I think it's very difficult to watch and stuff. And it's like, it's uncomfortable. It's almost like watching that one, the Leaving Neverland. We watched that one quite a bit ago and stuff. Or like, I watched that quite a bit ago, and that one's just like really uncomfortable and stuff. And it's like,
and that was like hours long. Like this was like, okay, I finished an episode. It wasn't that long. That one was like, oof.
Yeah, I think they were like long episodes.
Yeah, they were like hour plus. You're just like, goodness, like there can't be more.
Yeah, so like anything of this subject matter is like very hard to watch tough. And stuff, and it's like, but I don't know. So I guess we'll see if we are going to be talking about another episode. I think we should talk about it if it changes the narrative or something, or if it contributes more to the narrative. I don't know. Yeah, if it's more of the same.
Get a bigger picture of what was going on.
Yeah, like if that Dan Schneider dude decides to sit down for them and like
that'd be insane.
I would be like, okay, like well, let's talk about that. But but like if it's more of the same, it's like you're kind of like not reiterating because it's all personal stories for each individual person, but yeah, there's a point.
It'd just be opening up another wound. Like it feels like once you finish these 4, you're like, okay, it was difficult. I got through it. Let me let this wound close because that like ripped my childhood apart. So like watching a 5th episode, it's like, all right, are they gonna rip this Band-Aid off, or are they gonna kind of ease me into this? So we'll see.
Well, next we're watching a historical gem called Shogun.
Switching it all up.
So I'm excited for that. But like we said, we always say, if you watch this quiet on set, let us know if you liked it, disliked it, what you thought about it in the comments below. And please like and subscribe to Saturday Night Popcorn for more TV dinners and Shogun coming up next.